Hey folks, Steve here with an unboxing video for you today. We are looking at the latest release from Operational Studies Group. This is Bonaparte Overruns Piedmont, the latest entry in the Library of Napoleonic Battle series. This is War of the First Coalition Part 1, which follows the release of War of the First Coalition Part 2, which was released last year, which was Bonaparte and the Quadrilateral. So a little, published a little out of order. They weren't going chronologically with this one, but this is now the latest release, which completes, I think, the War of the First Coalition set of games. We will eventually see a War of the Second Coalition releases for that. Now, if you've been watching my channel recently, I've been enjoying some Napoleonic games and some War of the First Coalition content. I will say that while this is part one, this is specific to Bonaparte's involvement in War of the First Coalition. So it's not the whole War of the First Coalition stuff in this series. It is still the Library of Napoleonic battles, not the everyone else battles. So this is going to feature four battles, four battles here. I'm not going to butcher these names, so I'm just not even going to try, guys. I'm sorry. But another one from Kevin Zucker here. So we're looking at mid-April 1796, with the beginning of the involvement of Napoleon Bonaparte with the Army of Italy. So just kind of look at these games always arrive without shrink wrap on them. So there is no unshrinking to do here. You can see the back of the box in talking about the different battles that occurred in this series of these battles. You can kind of take a look at that. Nothing too crazy. And then you can see we're going to get two full-size, full-color maps, one folio-sized map. And then we've got a scenario folder, as usual, which includes campaign information. The rule book for the series, you always get that, one counter sheet, and 15 player aid cards. So it's interesting, it's one counter sheet, as opposed to, I think most of these games tend to be two counter sheets. So we'll see what all we get inside of here. So first thing we get is the actual scenario folder. Yeah, so it's got the scenario information, historical, and design notes. Now I love historical and design notes. So this is the standard two-column format of stuff that you will see from OSG. So talk about the different scenarios, information on them itself, how to get these special rules for the scenario that may apply. They've got listing of forces at a glance. This is all grayscale, but the quality is all fine in terms of the material here. Some of the specific rules, so Piedmont specific rules. I'm not going to dive too deeply into all of this, but just to see defining victory conditions. Then for each battle, you have plenty of that. You have the historical notes. These are always a great joy to read. I always enjoy reading these before playing a game and even after playing a game, just to kind of see how it all came together. So goodness, there are lots of reading that you can do if you so choose. And there are some notes to combat tables and oh, nice background there. So standard stuff, sort of your playbook equivalent if you're used to other publishers. Here is the series rules, which is at 7.35. I think this is the same rules version that was in the last game that was published, so no major change here. Probably have several copies of these rules now at this point. If you need a quick look, I mean, this is not, my first time probably showing these rules on camera in another video, but this is in color with some call-outs for what's changed since the last version. It's not a huge amount of rules. We're really talking about like 22 pages of actual rules. So that's really not that many. And it's in a two-column format with examples of play along the way to help you learn the rules and understand mechanics. is generally a very clean set of rules, in my opinion, though am I the expert? I don't know. Probably. Here are some of the maps, which, if you're not familiar with OSG, the maps are very pretty. I'm going to very carefully open up my map. Ooh, sorry, just banged my elbow on the camera. Get this out. So this is just one of the maps. This is the eastern map. You can see there's just a lot of, if you were just pulling yourself back for a second, you can, the most clear things that stick out are probably the fact that obviously there's rivers. You're always going to find rivers, but there's a lot of these little hills and valleys that are across the map. So yeah, there's a few places over here off to the side where you'll have, towns along the way, along the major routes, the roads that are covering the map. So pretty straightforward, same quality of map that you'd find in any other OSG title or game in the Library of Napoleonic Battles. So oh boy, I'm going to have to be careful putting this back together. There we go. Sometimes I lay out the mats and I don't quite know the right way to put them back together. So that was one of the maps. Here's the other map. This one being a little bit smaller. So this is the center map. But again, you notice that clearly the terrain of these battles being, we're talking about Piedmont, right? You're talking about still very, let's say mountainous terrain, but that might not be the right way to look at it. And then you can see there's some areas that are a little bit more, less forested. Here's some of the major settlements. Just to do a quick shot of the other map, the west map. I think this would be, the west map. So yeah, there you go. The three maps, and I think you could piece them all together. I think they're intended to be all pieced together like that, and then you could play it. One great grand campaign, I think that was one of the options you could play. We'll have to double check that as I wrap up the video. Here's the single counter sheet. So this is kind of interesting. I do see, is there anything actually missing in terms of like stuff you would expect to get in the game? I mean, I guess not. So yeah, you got your units here. Here's Bonaparte up here, and the different units, as well as markers and command markers. So it's got the base game markers that you would need, turn markers. So I think this is everything you would need to play. I was kind of surprised because I think a lot of these games, at the very least, they have two counter sheets, but this is coming in at just one. But it probably works just as well that way. So there you go. And then the back, just doing a quick glance, I don't see any issues with the counter quality. So yeah, looking good. Just looking at the counters makes me want to play. And the counters are just about to pop right out of the counter sheet, so I don't expect this to be a very difficult punch when I get to punching this. If you're familiar with the OSG, there's plenty of other sheets in here, so turn record tracks for the different battles. So depending on which battle you're actually playing, you may be using a different turn track that cover different days. You can see there's several of these. Then what you have here are these setup charts. So if you were to look, you'd say for each of these units, so the Joubert infantry unit, he is going to set up differently based on what day in battle you're playing. So this is just that key. So if you would just, if you're saying, hey, I'm going to play, this battle right here, I'm just going to look down and say, okay, I need to put Massena and the harp in these places. I need to put these guys all over here, so on and so forth. So it's kind of a nice clean way to do it. And then there's the Austrian, so this is the French Army of Italy, and then the Austrian, and then it looks like, oh yeah, and then we've got the Piedmontese, of course. Can't forget them. They're on a nice purple color. There's the casualty track, so how you tracking the casualties for the Corps, for the units involved. Same thing for the coalition. That's the French one. Combat tables. Some holding boxes that you would put off map to show units that are eliminated or recovering. Some weather tables, which will be specific to the battles involved. So different bits. And then, as usual, there is the Fog of War cards and basically the rules support for this game with these. This game did not come with the cards. You would buy those either separately from OSG, or you already own one of the games in the series that has the card deck included, which I'm trying to think of which one. Like, I think the Napoleon in Russia, I think, maybe has the cards included. But yeah, so you would need to get those cards. They're not terribly expensive if you choose. The cards are optional, by the way, so you don't have to play with them. And then additional guidance on actually using the cards. Some more of the combat tables and abbreviated sequence of play sheet with order slips. You'd probably want to photocopy this, given this is on the back of an aid card, but you know, you could issue orders that way. You have to do the orders function. As usual, inspected by Caveman Andy. I think that's in every box. There's already, apparently, an update. So for the materials that were already printed, I do notice that OSG does this. Most games you purchase will have a slip, because I think every time you order a game, I don't know if they assemble it right then, but if it's been pre-assembled, they look to see if there's an update, and they'll put a little slip like this in there. So it looks like there's just a couple of adjustments, but there's about this many adjustments in every game that I've ever gotten in this series. So nothing too bad, but want to keep that in mind. And then some additional worksheets and guidance for using the cards. So I think, you know, what's funny, whenever I have gotten one of these games, there is always a very large number of player aid sheets to go over and organize. And when you're looking to play the game, like, you kind of need more table space than you think, because you're going to be setting up these charts nearby. So, you know, if you've got a smaller table, you probably need to use a secondary table for these additional sheets, and then your main table where you're going to have the map and the units actually doing all of their stuff. So yeah, there you go. This is the latest release, guys. It looks cool. I definitely want to get this series to the table. I've not really done that yet, but based on everything that I've really been able to tell with this series, it's a cool, not terribly complex series that I think now, I can't say for sure when this series is going to be done, but I have heard that there's only so many games left to be published. So I think when I saw some comments from Kevin Zucker, it was like, you know, there's a couple of games on the second coalition that are going to come out. I think they've earmarked 2 games, at least one of which will feature Suvorov, and then who was a well-known Russian general, if you're not familiar. There'll be a couple games like that, and then there's several games that are happening towards the later end of the Napoleonic era. So the final campaigns in France, and then I think a couple more kind of in and around that. I think there's another Peninsular War game that has yet to be published. So really, there's only a few games left, followed by what I hope is maybe a reprint of The Coming Storm for those who do not have a copy of The Coming Storm. That's a game that's been out of print for some time. That's the one that features the battles of the dual battle of Jena Auerstadt, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I have a copy, but I I paid a pretty penny for it. And I'm sure the components could use a refreshing, and everyone else should have easy access to that game as well. Gosh darn it. So we'll see what else comes from OSG here in the future, but now's a great time to be looking at Bonaparte Overruns Piedmont, unless they've already sold out. And when I looked at the Napoleonic Battles website, I think it already said sold out. I don't know. So if you're interested in this title, please be sure to check the website and see what's in stock. It is entirely likely that maybe this is already out of stock because they printed enough for all the pre-orders and then some allotment later, and they got enough pre-orders that they've totally washed out the initial print run. I don't know. I have no idea. I just saw that it said sold out on the product on the website. That could be a browser error. I do not know. But if you go to their website, which is, again, it's like NapoleonBattles.com, or no, I'm sorry, Napoleon Games. I think it's like NapoleonGames.com. If you Google OSG, you'll find it. If for some reason you can't order this, there's a number of other games that are in stock that are probably worth your attention if you're interested in this sort of thing. And again, if you've been watching my channel lately, I have been playing other Napoleon games that just kind of help me think about playing this one. That makes it very attractive to play this, given that in a strategic level Napoleonic game, I did overrun Piedmont, not necessarily with Bonaparte, but I did do it. So it would be fun to roll through here with this one. And I should also point out, just very pretty graphical art for the box. That's a very vain thing to bring up. I know it shouldn't matter, but all the games in the series in the last couple of years, when they changed over their box art to this sort of format where they're all in a very similar, here's a picture and these banners and just the way it's set up, make for very attractive boxes. And when they're all lined up together, it's very cool because they just look nice when they're set up like this in your on your game shelf. It's just nice. It's just cool. When a game box looks cool, that does just make it a little bit neater to pull off the shelf and play. I don't know. I'm vain in that way maybe for this one, guys. Anyway, that is Bonaparte Overruns Piedmont, the latest release in the Library of Napoleonic Battle series from OSG. I hope this was helpful for you to take a look at what's in the box and the quality of the components. It all looks pretty darn fine to me, and I look forward to being able to play this maybe even opposed at some point in the near future. I have a friend who would like to play this opposed. I just need to find the time, and grad school needs to be over for it. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful to you. Take care. Keep gaming.